Good morning and happy blessed Friday. I was thinking about communicating even when it's hard. And growing up in a house with a bunch of siblings, sometimes was always a breakdown in communication. And growing up in a big family, oftentimes there were breakdowns in communication. And I think today, in this day and age of texting, there's still a great and huge breakdown in communication. I think sometimes, and a lot of the times, text messages or email messages don't quite pick up the essence of what someone is trying to communicate. So there are many things that get lost in translation or just taken out of context. I think about the big family unit, and any time that something happened or went left or went wrong, how simple it would have been to just move towards with the intention of mending or gaining clarity. But I think oftentimes it's too easy to personalize something, and not to say that some disagreements aren't personal, but everything isn't. I recall talking to a bunch of people who I work with today, and the first thing that I tell them often is, I don't take what they say personally, and I mean that. I can't take what someone says personally, particularly at work, because they don't know me and I don't know them. And if I walk around every time having a emotional or a personal response to what someone says or does, then I don't think anything gets anywhere. I am then in turn making everything about me, and everything can't be about me. I don't want everything to be about me. Through the years, I've learned to listen. If I have a strong response, I give myself time to think about it. And then when the emotions or the intense feelings have subsided, then I'll move towards asking more questions for clarity. If it's a heat in the moment or a moment that's heated, I am typically quiet and I'm listening to try to really understand what someone is saying underneath a raised voice or off-putting words of expression. And again, usually it ends up not being about me, sometimes about a need that someone else has that hasn't been met. However, we have to get better at addressing issues straight on. Because what happens is when we avoid or we personalize or we give way too much time and space, essentially the picture is water under the bridge. And after a while, that water keeps building. And then the bridge gets sucked up by the water. So just visualize that. Water under the bridge. The water keeps rising. The water rises above the bridge. And depending on what the bridge is made out of, typically wood, after a while, when the water subsides, the bridge is weak. And one wrong move, it collapses. So think about that in terms of conversations not had that should be handled directly in order to get clarity and insight. If you choose to or avoid to not address the issues, by the time you address it, you won't know what the point is. And so moving towards someone, asking clarifying questions, addressing the issues head on will strengthen a relationship, and it builds the ability to have have communication, even sometimes when it's hard. And if we're talking in terms of relationship, like that's so important that
Did you know they're called bacon?
in order to understand each other better, move towards each other. Be willing to ask hard questions or just ask more questions to understand what the person meant. And as I've said before, my dad used to say, consider the source. And that's important when you're talking to people, to consider the source. Who are they? Who do you know them to be? What are their intentions? What are their heart? And in that, in knowing the source and in asking more questions, I think you gain more understanding and you build relationships versus breaking them down. So, just a thought. No matter who it is, whether it be a personal relationship or a professional relationship, don't be so quick to jump in and respond. If something hits you hard, take a step back and ask more questions for more clarity. And it'll be better for you. It'll be better for you and be better for the relationship if that's what you choose to have. So, thank you for listening. I love you. Happy Blessed Friday.